Welcome to the final webinar in the Sahyadri web series. Today we'll be covering Satara part 3, where we cover another 8 to 10 land forts as we turn back from Sangli to Satara and eventually all the way back to Pune to cover a couple of forts which we haven't seen yet in my 200 journey. As usual, check out my blog ultrajourneys.org, where you can find the entire series, as well as YouTube channel where you find the HD quality videos. Today we'll cover the remaining forts of Santoshghat, Vardhanghat, Nandgiri, Vairatgad, Pandavgad, Rohida, and finally I finish my 200 fort journey at the historically significant Purander fort. Okay, so here we see the map again, south of Satara, where we basically loop counterwise back as we return from Islampur and Sangli back north towards Satara and Pune eventually. The Sahyadri range is mainly divided into three parts: Sambhu Mahadev range, Bamnoni range, and Masoba range. The forts Santoshghat, Varudghat, Mahimanghat, and Vardhanghat are a part of the Masoba range and in the Man district. Santoshghat is also called the fort of Tatawada, since the base village is called by this name. Here we see the entrance gate of Santoshghat with a couple of rooms on both sides of the entrance to, I guess, guard the entry to the fort. We find some old hand-carved rock remains here, probably a personification of the Lord Vishnu. Beautiful views from the top on an ever getting dry Sahyadri below at the end of December. Can find some huge well, one of the biggest that I've seen on top of the hillock, through which we can get down through a small rock cut steps here. There is also a temple built in this well. And here a beautiful view on the rock staircase from the well itself. Beautiful views connecting this hillock to the Deccan plateau there. You can see the fortified wall below to protect the fort from invasions. Vardhanghat fort is one of those which has witnessed the stay of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. The fort is located on the Mahadev hill range. The fort was vulnerable to attacks from the adjacent hills of Lalgun and Rameshwar. There is a well-known temple of goddess Vardhanimati on the fort and is visited frequently by the villagers. On the way to this fort, it's time to replenish the calories with the typical potato bun snack here with some nice hot and sour red ketchup sauce. And then here we can see the half-destroyed rock staircase leading up to the entrance of Vardhanghat fort. Here we can see the main entry point, surrounded by big fortified walls. Find a couple of old, again, hand-carved rocks on top of the fort. And a small temple here with power actually, where a couple of local villagers are attending a puja by the resident priest. Next we proceed to Kalyanghat, also known as Nandgiri fort. This fort was built by King Bhoj II of the Shilahar dynasty between 1178 and 1209. In 1673, Shivaji Maharaj conquered Satara and surrounding regions. Kalyanghat became a part of this territory. After Shivaji, the administration of Kalyanghat went into the hands of the Pandinitis representatives. So the way to Nandgiri is a long jeep trek with loose rocks, so a bit challenging on a two-wheeler. Still people go there on bikes as well as cars. Kind of till the top of the hill. From there you have a staircase that leads to the main entrance here of Nandgiri. And then immediately after the staircase, instead of going straight right up to the hill top, you can get actually into a deep cave here. Walls have been built to collect water in this cave, and you can actually walk through this submerged cave, where at the end of the cave you'll find a small temple or statue.
We're walking through a cave which is partly submerged in Nandgiri. walking towards one temple. Amazing experience.
Voila. So here we can see a small statue and an oil-lit lamp at the end of the cave, and another statue inside a fence. As we get out of the cave and proceed to the upper section of the fort, we go through another entrance gate with two bastions. Next on the list is Vairatgad. King Boj of the Shilahir dynasty built this fort in the 11th centuries. During King Chhatrapati Shivaji's reign, the fort was used as a military station. He conquered the Vai region and included Vairatgad and Pandavgad in his kingdom. The British captured it in 1818. So Vairatgad is a place I reached again pretty late in the night on my way back to Pune to reach Purander the next day. So I had to climb this one in the night. A bit tricky as I lost the trail midway from the village. A little confusing with multiple splits and not exactly clear. So anyway, here we come towards the top where we join the main track actually that I seem to have missed, and enter the top region through a nice staircase. Beautiful views on the plains below. By the time I get up, it's pretty much dark. Exploring the top of the fort, I find one or two buildings with a couple of these beautiful ancient rock cut stones here, depicting certain old age scenes. Here also another rock cut stone covered in orange paint. Voila, and then beautiful views on the other side of the hill on the National Highway 4, the 4-lane highway that connects Kolhapur with Pune. Climbing down in the night then, next I proceed and settle down at the base of Pandavgad Fort, built by Shilahar King Boj II. The fort was formerly under the rule of Adil Shahi. On the 7th October 1673, the Marathas won the fort and included it in the Shwariyaji. I need to work on the pronunciation, Swarajya. But in the 1701, Aurangzeb captured the fort. The fort was took back by Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj, and in 1818, British took over from Pandavgad. Voila, comfortable stay here near a small house with a doggy giving me company for the night in a very peaceful surrounding away from the main cities at the base of the fort. I climb up then through an initial forest section. Higher up the fort we get rock cut steps to some of the steeper sections to get on top of the fort. Here we can see the way up, mostly a mud trail, and then on top you can go fully around the hillock where you find multiple reservoirs below the upper pinnacle. You also find some deep cut tunnels here filled with water. And then here the bastion and the main entrance gate towards the fort. Here we can see the entrance gate from the backside, very similar again to the usual gates. On top we find some old building here with rock cut stones again. Some again old remains all from the olden days. And as well as a building here, an old building that has been rebuilt in multiple phases. Next then, on the way back to Pune, I decide to cover Rohida, which I missed in my previous journey around Mahabaleshwar. Rohida fort was built during the Yadava period. According to the inscription on the third gate, Mohammed Adil Shah of Bijapur has repaired this fort on May 1656. Shivaji Maharaj won the fort from the hands of Bandal the Shmuk of Rohida in a close battle. After the battle, many officials, along with Baji Prabhu Deshpande, chief administrator of the Bandals, were inducted into the Swaraj movement. Voila, Barren Hill, all dry, end of December again. You can see some bastions on the left and the right side of the top of the fort. This fort I was able actually to bike up through loose scree, almost halfway the fort before I had to park the bike and proceed on foot. As we go up, we go actually through multiple entry gates, so it was pretty much fortified. Multiple gates are passed as we climb up to rock-cut steps to the top of the fort. You can see some beautiful elephant carvings on the wall. And then here on top of one of the bastions overlooking the surrounding regions, where I guess this might have been the fixing stone for a cannon. On the way out then towards Pune, I cross Bhor, where I find this beautiful statue of Shivaji Maharaj on a horse. Taking the bus back to, that was the previous time after Mahabaleshwar. Biking back to Pune, I finally head out to Purandar Fort, initially making the mistake of routing in Google Map, ending up at the wrong site, completely stuck, and then basically going around fully and driving up to the entrance of the fort, which is now military training site, so you need to have proper identification to get inside the fort. Purandar Fort is known as the birthplace of Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj, the son of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. The fort is repeatedly mentioned in the rising of the Shivaji Maharaj against the Adil Shahi of Bijapur Sultanate and the Mughals. The twin forts of Purandar and Vairatgad, or Rudramal, of which the latter is the smaller of the two, is located on the eastern side of the main fort. You can see both are connected through a narrow ridge line. Here I meet a couple of friends who want to give me company as I complete my 200 fort in my Sahyadri journey. A couple of enthusiastic students from Pune. As we walk up to the top of the fort, we still find an old church here, probably from British times, I assume. And then here we can see the main entrance gates. We're actually walking above now this gate on a road, but the original entrance towards the fort seemed to be through this gate, which is now closed with military barbed wire. On top we find a statue of Sambhaji Maharaj, I assume, where I take a selfie to commemorate my 200 fort. And then as we climb further up through multiple bastions and entry gates towards the top of the peak, again we go through multiple gates here, heavily fortified, so difficult to retake. On top again we find huge water tanks, multiple reservoirs to provide water to the troops stationed on top. And then finally the ridge line proceeds further, where eventually we get towards a small temple. Staircase has been built here as this fort is quite often visited, especially by residents of nearby Pune. Here we can see the small temple, then on the extreme edge of Purandar Fort Hill. Voila, this is the 200 fort in my traverse across the Sahyadris. I hope you enjoyed this 25 series of webinars across 14 different traverses in the Sahyadri. I hope it really inspires some of the youth of especially Maharashtra to explore their rich history and go beyond like visiting a single fort, but get more into fast hiking, explore entire traverses of beautiful forts. This ultra journey at the end of 2019, post the monsoon, has been an amazing experience in terms of historical exposure, beautiful nature of the Sahyadris, as well as the overwhelming hospitality and the remote corners of the Maharashtra. You can watch the entire series on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/Van Gep, as well as on my blog ultrajourneys.org, and 10-minute previews of every of the 25 webinars has been posted on Insta TV and Facebook. See you guys next soon for another webinar series on another beautiful region in one of my upcoming ultra journeys.